That intro is like a sedative. Like, I should have played that before the trial every day. You know,
Yeah. Oh
it's
my
all,
God, right?
I'm so glad to be back here for you
Maybe
with you again,
so.
Mandy. I know. Everyone, you remember Mandy.
Thank
Mandy's
you.
been in the chats and we did Amber Heard and Johnny Depp for quite a while together.
Yes.
As she broke her YouTube cherry and and now
And I've
yeah.
never gone anywhere else. Isn't that strange?
Oh my goodness. Look at you. Are we in a committed YouTube relationship? Don't say that. No, I'm
Oh
joking.
my
I'm
God,
just
we are.
we are. Shh, don't. Now they're all gonna try to break us up. Watch. You know, but
Seriously.
no, seriously, you can't. But no, that's nice because it's just when it comes to things we have in common our love of legal and the process and just the
Yep.
sensational snark you can read in a legal brief over a cup of coffee. I mean, not many people have that in common. In
Yep.
true crime,
And
um,
we've been doing this for years,
for
right?
years,
Like years
secretly,
now.
secretly on
I just
Twitter
never,
and in
yes.
DMs and talking and just like talking about cases. And then I was like, why not like make the conversation bigger with more people? Because I am just as long as there's a legal hook, I'm fascinated. I'm not in on all the cases, as you know, but this one had
Because there's too
everything.
many.
There are too many. I mean, the 23 I'm following is definitely too many. But not that I report on
And
all of
then
them. Mm,
then
go
I
on.
threw that other one in your lap the other day.
Well, that at least has some
Did you?
hooks to it. I'm looking. Yeah, I'm
Oof,
trying. But it is, what's getting
definitely.
difficult is that almost all the states aren't putting stuff on Pacer anymore. They're just like keeping it to themselves first. So it makes it much harder to find, all of the deets like the way I like to do it. I like to do it with the black and white. You know that. Like I like to start there. And but there's so much. Uh I'm gonna be looking at that one for sure. But
Yeah,
today,
I'm trying to convince Uncivil to like go to the trial or see if he can stream it because he's in Austin.
close enough. He's in
Um,
Austin. Yeah, he's
yeah.
close enough. Yeah.
So the one we're talking about, you guys, if you aren't aware, is Caitlin Armstrong
Mhm.
is allegedly murdered her ex's girlfriend or a woman that she was dating, ended up fleeing to like a remote island somewhere.
Mhm.
Um, they finally caught up with her, arrested her. There's a lot that goes into the story, but that's one if people are interested, you should definitely look it up. Grace Case. Are you
Hey,
familiar
yeah.
with this one? She was arrested,
Mhm.
I think 21. So,
Right. So
yeah,
it's been a
that one
while. It's
should be
been over
coming
a
up.
year and a half.
Mhm.
Yeah, it should be coming up. Most of the ones that we're looking at were all arrested in 21 and the pandemic did a lot to delay everybody coming to trial. Not that the legal
Right.
system is that fast to begin with. You got your pretrial hearings and all the motions and all of that. Uh a lot of people forget that you actually do have a pretrial hearing in most cases to see if there's enough evidence to even bring you to trial, even though you've already
Well
been indicted. Yeah, because that's gonna have
well,
to happen with
yeah,
Kohlberger too.
and a
It
lot of
goes
people just want things to happen quickly, but the
you
judicial system does not happen quickly.
mhm.
So,
And that
you
brings
know,
us up with Murdaugh, which is like if you guys saw the thumbnail, it really is. It was one trial, right? The Murdaugh trial, as much as there was
was
in there, it
it
was
or
one.
was it
Was it
5?
five? Right. Was it 5 or 6 trials? Or like and and or but it really technically was one trial. And Mandy and I are different. We have different opinions about some things that happened. And actually on whether or not he's guilty. I think that's the biggest thing. Do you I
Right,
believe from what I've seen you post, because I didn't get to ask you, this is cold. Like we didn't even get to talk about this ahead of time, people.
right.
Um, you do still believe he's not capable of shooting his head in the sun shooting his son in the head the way that it happened.
I do not believe he pulled the trigger, no.
Mhm. And I got there based on a different reason, but not
Right.
because I believe he's a family annihilator. And I've done a stream with Bearded Heretic, who's a forensic psychology, deals with that, like, um, is very invested in the subject, works in the field. Um, and we went over what family annihilators are. Alex
Mhm.
does fit the criteria, but it's so rare. I actually don't think
Mm.
he's a family annihilator for those reasons. I don't A lot of people think it was predetermined,
Yeah.
and I think he may have thought about it because he just thinks crazy because of the drugs and because of all of the crimes that he committed and what we would call narcissistic Machiavellian tendencies that he has to think he is like smarter than everybody else and can pull the wool
Right.
over everybody's eyes. I think it was a combination of other things. I really don't think he thought about eliminating his family for any reason other than instantaneously during a pressure situation, period. Um, Even if he may have in the back of his mind made certain fantasies, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I don't think his thinking was right. I really don't. But
I mean, he was a serious addict, so
well, he says he was serious addict. That's the other problem I have is we didn't really see any evidence of this serious addict stuff, did we? No.
um, some of the past, information that Paul was aware and Maggie
Mm-hmm.
was aware, so they
That they
were
took
aware.
pills, right? That there were pills
Yeah.
involved. Well, when he's saying 60 to whatever 100 pills he was taking, that number was so astronomical. I don't think he would have been able to function, but he does claim to have been doing it for years and years and
Mhm.
having failed rehabs and this and that. But some of the behaviors, if he's one of the best functioning addicts I've ever seen. What he was able to
Yeah,
pull off and not get caught, you know.
I've just been around so many of them that it's not surprising to me.
Mhm.
Um, the oxys were, yeah, seriously, that was like
Mhm.
a lot.
Mhm.
But I know people and been around people who have taken 2,000 milligrams of
Mhm.
Vicodin a day.
Yeah.
So it wasn't, I'm, I'm a recovering addict. I've been
Mhm.
around crazy stuff. So
Mhm.
it really wasn't as surprising to me to hear somebody say,
The
2,000 a day. It just, I
the
was like,
number It's not the number that surprises me, it's the functionality level. Look at the
right.
crimes he committed without getting caught for 20 years under the nose of very
Yeah.
intelligent people, bankers, lawyers, his own family. Like, that takes a lot of work and a lot of like keeping your shit together. And at those kind of numbers, I don't see a lot of times where you actually have your stuff together. It's the functionality level I had an
Yeah.
issue with. Um, and I think also the personality that he had in blaming other situations, always looking for a way to get the attention off himself, um to look like the victim, to look like, there was a reason for something. He was quite the manipulator. Could you agree on that?
Oh,
If
yeah,
he's not
completely.
a
Yeah.
family annihilator, he is definitely a master manipulator. Yeah.
No, I don't think he's a good person.
Mm-mm.
I don't believe people that steal money from victims are good people to their
Mm-hmm.
cores. It's
Right.
just not something. n- It goes against all of my beliefs and
Mm-hmm.
my morals and who I am as a person. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
like the man,
Of course. Yeah.
but I didn't get to the point of him blowing away his family.
Exactly. You didn't think there was if I get it right, the evidence, all circumstantial as it was, first of
Yeah.
all, even though they don't have to commit motive, they spent a lot of time trying to push motive, and you just didn't
And
get there as a
normal,
believable part of
right.
it. Well, can we go back to the beginning with your permission to an issue we both have with this case because
Yes.
we both followed it
Are you gonna
legally
bring up
from
the
the start?
shirt? Because I'm gonna lose my mind.
Okay, you don't have to bring up your shirt. I mean, we let's you want us
No,
to
the
call it
shirt.
something else? Let's call it the
The shirt
the
that they said
problematic
had
piece of
blood.
evidence, okay? The problematic piece of evidence, okay, that was quite
Okay, I love
emotionally
that. The
charged.
problematic
Yeah.
piece of evidence.
It is
That's
it not? Is
perfectly
it not?
worded. Yeah.
It is absolutely, because the indictment, and here's where you and I both started on the same
Yeah.
path, right? The indictment. We both love law. And that indictment was shite. Sorry, I don't want to piss anybody up. I do think he did it. But legally, that indictment, when key emotional pieces were not true, needed to be redone. I do think instead of going forward with that, they should have did a redo on the indictment. I really do. They'd be on stronger ground, because he does actually put some, what I would call, prejudicial mindset out there, because they said there was a shirt full of blood. Everybody started thinking he was guilty. From that moment, all of law enforcement was moving forward as if he was guilty and stopped looking for anybody else. And I believe that.
Right.
And then when they said that it wasn't blood, they were well into it.
And
Okay. And instead of backing up and or holding off, they charged forward. And that made me a
yeah.
little uncomfortable. How do you look at that?
So, you know, during the trial, after that testimony,
Mm-hmm.
I jumped online and I searched at like something like Alex Murdaugh bloody shirt. Just something along those lines. And I shit you not, there were pages upon pages upon pages upon pages of articles written that the shirt was tested, it was covered in blood
Mm-hmm.
spatter, excuse me. I've been through this with the husband. I was like, I said splatter, but it's actually spatter, so it's blood spatter. So at the time that that information was quote unquote leaked, because that shouldn't have gotten out to begin with,
Mm-hmm.
then it was ran with. And just like every other case that we have ever followed,
Mm-hmm.
if misinformation is put out and it is grabbed a hold by, you know, tens upon, media sources, then people are going to have a preconceived notion of something in their head. And even if you come back and say, ooh, well, maybe that wasn't accurate, that's not the truth, then people who believe it's true regardless will argue with that side versus the opposing side because it's who we are in our brains. You know, I'll bring up another thing to you because I think that we can have a conversation
Mm-hmm.
about it. The part where they said when he was on video, I did him so bad, they did him
Right.
so bad.
Is
It
that
doesn't
actually evidence? Does
it
that
doesn't
matter?
matter. You
Mm-mm.
wanna know why? Because I can slow it down, I can crop it, I can put
Mm-hmm.
closed captioned, I can adjust with the sounds of it, and I'm going to hear whatever the F I want to hear. And the next person is going to hear whatever they want to hear. It's where you stand on it because that's how our brains work. So, evidence like that where it's really not clear and you don't really know and there's too much debate about it back and
Mm-hmm.
forth, I just I just ignore that evidence.
I think
So,
that that was semantics. I think that was just, we saw so many experiments, right, where people were doing exactly what you said, playing it fast, slowing it down. You could make it say anything. I, they, whatever. If you wanted to believe it, so many people wanted to believe that that was the gotcha moment for him,
yeah,
and I don't think so. It could have been either. I do think he said I, but even if it did say I've done them so bad, I think he did right away because he lied from the start. Even then,
yeah,
he was lying, and he knows he was lying. He knows he was taking pills. He knows he was doing wrong by his family. So him saying I did him so wrong, he did. whether he shot him or not, as far as I was concerned at that point. So it
Yeah.
was like it wasn't a big I got them, oh my gosh, he must have shot them in the head. He said that. I didn't think it was a big deal. But I don't blame the prosecution for using it because gosh, was it not sensational? I mean, like, you know, they just really wanted to hammer it home.
Right.
That's another problem with the line that Judge Newman had to really hold tight is that the legal community themselves were so upset with Alex Murdaugh, the whole deal, because they knew he was lying about so much. They knew what he did to partners, friends, family. They busted him cold. They have his affidavits where he's admitting stuff. They know the rotten person he is and how he took a
Mhm.
name that meant something in South Carolina, in Colleton County, in Hampton County, with the actual solicitors, a family line, and just made everybody look bad. It in itself, that was quite prejudicial, don't you think? That they all have to stand there and pretend like they don't want to hammer him into the floor.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, so uh there was a lot the judge. I have to, some people are upset with the judge. I
I
think
don't
that
like him.
I know because I do believe you're right when you say he was very prosecution leaning, and I think the reason is because of all the wrong that Alex has done legally.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah.
their line. It's the lawyers and the judges and the
It's like, "You're
judicial
making
system.
us
So,
all look bad."
yeah,
Right.
so the
Like
fact
yeah.
that he
Mhm,
did that, yeah.
mhm,
And it's a small it's, should they have tried to put in for a change of jurisdiction? Maybe. This case is so
mhm,
high profile
mhm,
that no matter where you went,
mhm,
everybody was gonna know about it. Everybody had seen something about it, some
mhm,
form of it. There was already multiple Dateline episodes and
mhm,
multiple,
mhm.
um, the Netflix thing came out, like, right in the
I
middle of it.
watched You'll be
That's
proud
weird.
of me. You normally don't watch any of that, do I? Like, you
I didn't.
I
No,
I
I still haven't.
normally don't, but I actually gave in. A friend who's in the chat, I won't out them, actually sent me just about everything on Murdaugh you've ever heard of, and I
Uh-huh.
I ended up watching it all, but I waited to watch some of it until after they were deliberate, like after the verdict. But I
Mhm.
wanted to see what was out there about that I didn't even know, what people were actually saying close to the case. The victims of the boat incident, everyone involved, the all of the stuff about Satterfield. I wanted to get more into that because I never got into anything but the black and white of any of that stuff. All I read was
Mhm.
the legal stuff on it because that's how I roll. I want to make an opinion just based on what the trial's going to show and not popular opinion, although I think he's absolutely impeached right. It took me quite a few weeks to get to that I thought he did it. They did. Everybody in the chat, I was always going, hold on now, that doesn't mean what you think it means, and maybe it means this or maybe it means that. I was questioning everything. Well, for me, it was finally coming to the conclusion that if not him, who? When they finally narrowed down that timeline to what they did, and I realized that only Alex Murdaugh, Maggie Murdaugh, and Paul Murdaugh had access to the crime scene before, during, and after, although two of them were no longer alive. It narrowed down to Alex Murdaugh. And so this is what I put out there for a while. If he didn't do it, he knows damn well who did because he was there.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that's what I say, like, all the time. If he didn't pull that trigger, I understand as a parent how people can't think that they pulled the trigger because even I put out the scenario that it was an accident and it's all Bubba's fault. I even blamed Bubba, and I love Bubba. Bubba was quite entertaining for me during this trial. Whenever it got too much, I brought up Bubba. But we had some fun at poor Bubba the dog's expense. But I actually went with the threatening, talking about the pills. Everybody's excited. There's guns involved. I actually went with the what else do you think is going to happen when you got a son with a blackout and a father with a rifle and a dog running around and Paul thinks you're going to hurt the dog and he goes, "No, you don't, Dad." And the dad's startled that he gets a gun pulled on him and falls back and fires that full shot and hits him in the shoulder. And then he's so stunned when the gun goes off because we know that that rifle that rifle, that shotgun, right? In testing the same brand, kind of fucked up, didn't it? During Greer's testing, and he testified to it. So who's to say it didn't again? And that other shot that went off that blew his head off was an accident too. And I still stand by that, even if he was thinking about these people are a pain in my ass and I need to get rid of them. And then Maggie comes screaming around the corner and he needs to shoot her. He don't really want to, but it's like she gonna kill him if he don't. And I don't blame him for thinking that, because anybody killed my child, you know damn well I would take that gun from you and make you sorry. Like, I think it's something like that, and I still do. I don't think it was calmly planned. I don't think it was an annihilation, but I do think he did it. I do, and I think only he can tell us how he did it or why. And I don't think he ever will. Or I don't think he would ever be able to admit it to himself that it happened. Do you know what I mean?
So he would have had to be covered in blood
He
and
would've.
brain
He
matter.
would've. Well,
So
not
where
necessarily brain matter because of the way the shot was. All the brain matter went up and over, and then the major part of the brain
Okay,
plopped
so
out.
that's where we also differ. So
Yeah.
that's where we differ on
Mhm.
that second shot, because after everyone was having, like, that whole testimony went on, and they said he would have had to been bent over and his head tilted this way, but his shoulder back this way, and I couldn't grasp it in my head. So when the defense said that they believed that he was shot from the right side down,
Mhm.
and everybody was like, "No, that couldn't happen." Well, somebody posted something about look up, shoot a watermelon, close range. And so I went on YouTube and I started looking at all of these videos and how everybody said that there was no way that it would come back at you like that if you look
Mhm.
at the watermelon videos,
Mhm.
when the pressure or the
It
amount
could.
of
Well, the
whatever
possibility is
hits
definitely
that
there. Yes.
watermelon, the watermelon
Mhm.
comes back at you. So I was
True.
like, "Wow, that
It
seems
could.
plausible to me."
Yeah. It is plausible,
So
but
then
the amount of
I
brain
had
that
a
was
hard
still. Yeah. I'm
yeah.
going with the amount of brain that's
So
still
let's just
intact, so
say
there's not the quantity of brain splatter that most people would think. But I
yeah.
do agree that there's a hell of a mess, and I do know how he cleaned it up,
Okay, yeah,
because
okay,
there is
exactly.
evidence
So
of the
let's
cleanup.
go
There is water in front of the feed room and all on the cement there where there's normally not water. We heard
but
testimony
it
from the man that does
wouldn't it
the
have blood in it?
well,
And
we
wouldn't it
did hear that.
have
If you go back to day 1 of the trial, Harpootlian jumped straight out of his chair as soon as Waters or someone mentioned pink tinged water. Because it didn't get tested appropriately, they had removed that from evidence during pretrial in motions. When it got mentioned, Harpootlian jumped straight up, and I said, "Mm-hmm." Right there, I know there was cleanup, because he was so afraid to talk about the water that was all around everybody. He said right away they went to sidebar, they had it removed, it never got brought up again. And that's the stuff that made me turn. The things that they mentioned that I never got to hear about again. So I stopped thinking, why? Why is it so important for the defense for us not to know? That could have been Maggie's blood, that could have been Paul's blood, that could have been the damn chicken's blood. But we don't get to talk about it. Why? Okay, that's the defense's job, and they did a really good job. But those are the things I pay attention to. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Hmm. So, also, there's plenty of ways for him to protect himself. There's a duck hunting family. If he had wore waders or anything else, but that might have been also towards an accident. If he was going to go duck hunting, he would only have to wash off rubberized clothes. Plus, here's the thing, Mandy, if he was wearing those clothes, like they said, and they proved that he was having 3 different outfits that day, why not give them the clothes? Why not just give them to them so we don't have a doubt? But all the evidence that's missing that proves tangible guilt, Alex Murdaugh had control of, and Alex Murdaugh didn't produce to make himself innocent. And that spoke volumes to me. If you were wearing that damn blue shirt, turn it in. Turn both of them in. The one you say you were wearing, the one the maid says she was wearing. Turn them all in. If you did not do this, you don't want us to tarnish your name. Turn it in. But he didn't. And he wouldn't. Not the sneakers either. It would have been easy to do. And he didn't. He refused. Because they're no longer around. Because they were destroyed. And why? Because they had evidence on them. That's
And
what I
how do
think.
you think he got back from the kennels to the house with 2 guns, her phone,
I don't think he did.
all
He
of that?
didn't go to the house. He put those guns in that raincoat. And he put them in his truck.
His
I
truck
don't
was at the
think
house.
I don't think it was. There was a set of tracks. They said so. And just because they say that it was there after doesn't mean it wasn't there during. The only one who knows whether his track was there before or after is Alex because it was raining and they can't tell how old those tracks were, Mandy.
But with the data from the vehicle,
It
the
still
pickup didn't
moved.
start and
It,
go until 9:06.
exactly. But you don't know where it was at 9:06. Exactly. He says it was up at the house. Who knows how far down he went with it? And you still got the golf cart. And you could still put everything in there. I do think he was able to get everything in there, and I think he did hose off very well, and I think his clothes was all wet. He went took everything off, took everything with him because when they say that he took a shower, well, you have a man at home. If he's going to leave his clothes in the bathroom, does he only leave his pants? Like and a towel if he just is being that rude to just take everything off and change in the bathroom, why isn't everything there? Why only part of it is there? Like it was staged. It was all staged.
Mm,
That whole thing was staged with the clothes and in the thing with Mandy's clothes. I do believe that. I think he spent some time very carefully trying to figure this out. I think he has a magnificent mind for detail in what people look for in crime. I think he's got a great way of making things look a different way. There are issues. The 19 seconds where he says that he went and touched the bodies and all, and then he called 911. And when he realized that that wasn't possible to do in that amount of time, he changed his story on the stand. And that kind of really cinched it for me. Why change your story to fit what you've been sitting there listening to during the whole trial?
right.
I didn't want to think he did it, believe me, because when it comes down to it, this is one of the most prejudicial, and I'm serious, people. When you talk about prejudicial evidence and prejudicial opinion, it's very easy to say that Alex Murdaugh got railroaded. They wanted him guilty, period. This was quite prejudicial. The whole community is prejudicial against him. Everybody's
Mhm.
prejudicial. When the defense stands up and says they just wanted to nail him, I believe it. I absolutely believe it. They had good reason, though. Everybody has good reason. I'm not saying they don't, but you still have to go with the evidence. So it was only piece by piece that I came to the conclusion that it could be nobody else but him or somebody he knows really, really well because his own statements about the dogs not making any noise or carrying on that anybody else was there. And Alex said himself, why would they? There was only people they knew there. He said that.
Mhm.
And I'm like, that's a good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I was thinking the same thing. But I mean, I realized that all, but what other part of the evidence really sticks out for you? Because I'm curious now, because I know we have certain things we can look at both ways. The entrance wounds, of course, the actual scene itself, as messy as it was. Do you think Alex really touched the bodies the way he said he did?
You know what? I don't know, and I just completely discount that because I remember, and this is the easiest way for me to explain it. I remember the day that my dad died, and I got the call, and my dad was East Coast, I'm West Coast. So I got the call that he was gone. And
Mhm.
all I can remember for the next, I don't know, hours is not remembering how to use my phone, not being able to unlock my phone. I couldn't remember my passcode, not remembering where the little phone thing was to like click on it, to call my mom, to get into an address book. I can't remember anything other than the issues that I was having with my phone.
Mhm.
And for months after that, looking back now, everything is a freaking blur. If you were to ask me what Christmas was like that year, what his services was like, I
Mhm.
have a lot of bits and pieces,
Right.
but I could never tell you a consecutive timeline about events or what happened because it was such a traumatic experience for me.
Mm.
So if you said, "Oh, did you try to call your mom first or your oldest child first?" I don't know. I don't
But
know
that
if I
yeah.
so for me, traumatic experiences, and that's one place where I feel the defense really effed themselves,
Right. They didn't bring the
is why did you
psychologist.
not
They were
yeah,
on the list. They didn't bring them forward to
why
talk about
didn't
that.
you
And I'll
bring
tell you what, I asked a few people about that are psychologists, because how are you gonna defend somebody for traumatic response when they went out of their way to lie immediately and craft stories? You can't claim I couldn't think straight because of traumatic response and then claim I actually lied because of traumatic response and went through the whole process of making up all of these stories because of traumatic response. It can't be both. Like, he proved himself a liar, which is probably why they couldn't. If you think about it, you're going to come up there and say he wasn't functioning normally. Yeah. Most people, like you said yourself, would say, I don't know. I don't remember. I wasn't thinking clearly. Not Alex Murdaugh. He said, I wasn't there. It wasn't
yeah,
me. I
stories,
wasn't
yeah,
there. Oh, wait, the 19 seconds? Oh, yeah, I'm remembering now. No, it must have been after. But I told everybody for a year and a half the other story till I heard you
right.
had evidence at 19 seconds. You see, that's why they didn't bring a psychologist, because it would be too easy, like I just did, to say, really? That doesn't make any sense, because if you're in traumatic
Because you
response,
can't have it both ways,
you
right?
can't have it both. How do you actually functioning? You have to take a lot to be able to craft a lie like that. It wasn't a simple lie. It didn't like he said, it wasn't like he knew and he said, I don't know. He elaborated
Right.
repeatedly on the lie over and over again. That takes a little bit of sense of where you are. I'm not saying he was thinking clearly. God, he couldn't be, because I agree with you, Mandy. Like, it had to be horrible. That's his child.
Whether
Okay.
he did it or it was done in front of him or
Or
somebody
anyone
else did
else,
it.
even if
Yeah,
he knows why, whatever, just to see what he saw, he gotta be screwed up in his head. And just the man he was anyway, I pretty much believe he is screwed up in his head.
right.
Okay, but I don't think that that gives him the pass that he's not to be looked at for this at all. Because for me, he acted like a guilty person. Almost all of my thinking on why he's guilty came right from his mouth, right from him, no one else. All that stuff about financial just proved that he was a bad guy, that he lies, and he would lie to anybody. And I know Crichton Waters had to do that to prove to the jury that he would lie right to their face. He wanted the jury to see the lawyer and manipulator that Alex Murdaugh was. And they did. And it was hella boring for most of us. I have to admit, it took way too long. I think he could have presented 404B with 4 witnesses. He didn't have to take as long as he did. I know you're not pleased with the judge, but I think the judge did a good job in walking that line and making sure he heard all that evidence before he let it in, to make sure it was only going to go towards state of mind.
Oh, yeah, that didn't bother me. The
Yeah.
whole
Yeah.
question. No,
You know, I
yeah,
think
I
he
don't
was
care either
ready for
way.
that. They're gonna have a hard time of that appeal because it was prejudicial. It wasn't probative. It was very prejudicial to Alex as a person, as a lawyer, as a man, and his character. It was horrible.
Well,
Um,
and it for me with the judge, it wasn't that. I just was super annoyed with his obvious bias in, like, objections,
mhm,
like and then, like, I get it, it's a very high profile case, but when you literally look at the defense and tell them to sit down, and when you object on a defense's question while the prosecution sits there, I have issues with
exactly.
that. I
He
have
did.
issues
He
with the
did
way
it.
that you conduct yourself.
Exactly, he was objecting for them because he was offended,
Yes,
and I
like,
was like,
eesh.
you can't really be that offended," but then we heard in the actual sentencing why. You could hear it dripping, and, not that many people recall that, Judge Newman lost his son just weeks before the trial,
Yeah, and
and
maybe he shouldn't have been on this case.
maybe
That's
he
kind of
shouldn't
how
have
I
been.
felt.
That's how you know what? Maybe he shouldn't. But I think he did the best job that he could. I think it's also unfair of us to think that anyone can be that unbiased in any situation, especially a case like this, which I admit
Right.
is prejudicial because Alex Murdaugh was a well-respected part of the community. He was a lawyer. He was a solicitor. He put bad guys away.
Yeah.
His attitude, his whole thing, okay, jeopardizes the whole system. And that's what they're reacting to, in my humble opinion. That is what the judge and
Ooh,
all of these people are reacting to is that the whole system gets put in jeopardy when one bad person like this
but
does a lot
they're
of stuff like
all
that.
like that. But they're all like
Unfortunately. Yeah.
if you I'm surprised the defense didn't catch this because you know me, you know I'm at work, you know what I do, so I'm, like, grinding
Hmm.
all day, but I'm
Hmm.
listening. But when something catches me to the point that I stop and
Hmm.
rewind and I'm like, "Oh,
Okay.
that was
Hmm.
interesting," when they had the woman on the stand that's the financial manager
Right.
at the, law firm, she slipped up and said
Seconder,
during
Jenny Seconder. Yeah.
yeah,
Hmm.
during questioning from the prosecution, she actually slipped and said that this is something that all the lawyers did when she was talking about money. Did you catch that part?
No, what did she
W
wait, refresh me.
so
Go ahead.
so she was talking about how sometimes they'll take money for this or take money for that. She was talking about Alex doing it, and then she slipped and started to say that they all did that, but not to that extreme.
Mm.
And then Crichton cut her off and asked her another question, and it never went back to it. But I
Why
was
didn't
like,
defense go to it though?
I
That's
don't think they caught it because it was so quick. Like I said, for me, I just perked
Mhm,
up and I was like, "Wait a minute." She just said that they all had these sorts of behaviors, but
mhm,
his was extreme. So my thing with that part of it, with, like, the legal part of it,
mhm.
as a person that does what I do for a living,
Right.
her testimony horrified me. How could this go on for
Well,
so
we
long,
talked about that,
and you
didn't we?
didn't catch it
It was
unless
embarrassing, and I think
they were
that's why
all doing
she
it.
was a hostile witness.
Yeah,
Absolutely, because the fact that she because they're all friends, she says they've all been friends for 23 years. It's the only reason she still has a job. What chief financial officer who is uncovering crimes and theft for 20 years, just finding it, when you're supposed to reconcile everything, you're responsible for the monthly bank statements reconciling, that things aren't outstanding, you're pulling it all together, you're responsible for quarterly and yearly and income tax reports every year that are based on facts, and you didn't have a clue. How do you have a job?
yeah,
Regardless of who put that stuff together, the head is
yeah,
responsible for the final report. I don't care if I knew them for 20, I don't care if it was my mother, she'd be fired.
yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Yeah.
Because you're setting a bad example. Like, it's okay. Like, all right, so you made a
But
mistake, a
so
20-year
but
long mistake, and you get to keep your job. No, you
but
don't
I
want
think
people doing
because
that
they were
quality.
all doing it in the law firm is why it was not caught.
Yeah, I think that their accounting
'Cause they were
alone was
always
shady
sort of
because they were
fudging
all
the yes,
borrowing and fudging, and
exactly.
you got
Yep.
it. Naughty. You know how there's always a separate set of books? You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, the naughty books. Uh-huh. Mhm.
Ours
That's
is
it.
all computerized, so no,
Yep.
but yes.
Mhm. Oh gosh,
Yeah.
oh, ours are computerized too. That's what I used to set up. But you know what? That was the main reason that most small businesses didn't want to computerize because they couldn't keep two sets of things anymore. It had to all be legit. A fact is a
Yeah.
fact. A computer don't care. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, like if we're off a penny on a
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So anyways, so yeah, either way, I don't know. I always get these
Yep.
just gut feelings about things and intuition and stuff, and I'm super bothered by this one. I don't know why. I don't like him. I wish it would be much easier to just be all in with the mob, right? Then people wouldn't be looking at me like, "This bitch is crazy." But it's just something I don't know. I can't wrap my head around it. I don't know. I don't know. Because mostly, like, with the crazy mother that just, like, murdered her children and then jumped out of the
Mhm.
window. Do you know this story?
No.
Oh,
No.
yeah,
No.
she's, like, in the
Oh.
hospital. She had her first, appearance via web.
Mm.
She unfortunately strangled her children and then, tried to off herself and lived.
Mhm.
Tragic, very sad, and I, like when I was reading about it and saw her and everything, I was
Mhm.
like, "Oh, you did it,"
Mhm.
100%.
Mhm.
I feel it to my core, you know,
Right.
Chad and Lori, I feel it to my core, the OnlyFans chick,
Mhm.
you know, I don't know,
Oh, you
Claire.
mean,
I don't know.
what's her name?
Courtney.
Clooney.
Yeah,
Courtney
Courtney
Clooney.
Cl
Yeah,
mhm.
I am definitely following that one too. That's
Yeah.
also kind of sketch because she was asking for a restraining order in, being all drunk and
Yeah,
stuff.
kinda
And they kind of
sus.
poo-pooed her too, like a little bit. Like the whole thing is like everything. But that coroner, all right. I don't know who you are, but let me just help you. You have an issue, you don't really need to be here. I'll give you a few minutes to think about it, but I don't block people. But come with your real name. I don't know who you are. You want to just cause trouble? That's fine. My DMs are open if you want to have a conversation. But why don't you be an asshole somewhere else so I don't have to show your ugly ass out here? Okay. Thank you. All right. Sorry, Mandy.
I don't know who Marshmallow is too, I just ignore
I
people.
don't know anybody named Marshmallow, but apparently they don't like me and we're not friends. And I'm like, since I don't know who the hell you are, that's just fine. Like, okay.
Let me go look
I
at their
don't,
channel real quick.
yeah. Who cares? Like, yeah. And don't forget, when we look at your channel, we get your IP too. So you might as well come out with your real name because, I don't play like that. No, you're going to mess with me. Once I find out who you are, everyone will know. So there you go. Eh? Like, I ain't playing. I ain't playing with these people anymore, Mandy. I'm sorry.
Huh.
Anyway.
Doesn't follow a
Yeah.
lot of people, LB.
Mm,
We just look. I'm like,
mm.
"Da-na-na, na-na-na."
I
Oh,
tell you what,
um,
Marshmallow, go get toasted. Looks like you need to lighten up a bit. There. How about that?
oh my god,
Okay.
you're hilarious.
What do you want me to do? I mean, I don't know why they're coming for me. What did I say? Something that horrendous? I'm actually more agreeing with everyone that says that some of the case was shaky, and I do. And it took me a long time to decide he was guilty. As a matter of fact, when they went to verdict, I said there wasn't enough here to convict. Does everybody remember that? I said, I think he did it, but I think the case is shaky. And I think I would not be surprised with a hung jury. I don't know if I could say he actually did it if I was on that
Yeah.
jury.
Yeah. Oh, and don't even get me started on the jurors that have already come out that want their 15 minutes of fame for putting away Alex
Hmm.
Murdaugh. Okay, don't even get me started.
Hmm. No, yeah. But okay, are you okay with a couple of questions and comments? Like we can lighten this up for the
Sure.
chat. They all have lots to say. Let me just say, first of all, uh, Juju says she goes, I agree with Mandy. I think he did it, but I don't think the state proved it, and would have been hung with the jury. Then that way you agree with me because Mandy actually does not think he shot his son in the head. So it would be the opposite. Mandy
Which
does not
is
think he shot them.
here's
Period.
another issue I have real quick.
Mm-hmm.
6 weeks
Mm-hmm.
total
Oh my God, yes.
and a
Two.
4-hour deliberation. Are you effing kidding me
Why?
right now?
You know what? If it's because it was unanimous, because
It
I
wasn't
questioned
to
that.
begin with. It was
It
not.
wasn't. But don't you think he should have sent them back? Like, but then when they all agree right away like that,
I
he
think
said,
they were seriously like, meh, if we say he's not guilty, the mob is going to come for us. We've been here for 6 weeks. We're only getting $15 a day. We were only supposed to be here 3 weeks. All right, let's go home. I just don't understand how you could come to a reasonable conclusion in 4 hours.
I don't.
It's weird.
I think that proves that they made their mind up before they went to deliberation, and I think that is a clear not being
But what
responsible.
about the 4 that were opposed? How quickly they got turned.
How they just did,
That
just
makes me feel
immediate.
some pressure in that
And they
room.
didn't ask to see lots of evidence or anything, because, like, I remember talking before when they went to verdict, and I said, "Look, if it was me and several people in the chat, and I know you too, if we were sitting on the jury, and if I misspeak, please correct me because I don't want to speak for you, but we cross our I's and dot our T's. As guilty as we would have thought he was, we would have
Yep.
asked to see everything and make sure what we were thinking was exactly what we saw and remembered. And I would cross all those I's and T's before I tell somebody that they did something like that and they're going away for life. I would take it hella serious. 6 weeks or not, but I think you have a valid point. 6 weeks was a long time, and some of them were like, "Hell, I am so done." Yep. And Pete just keeps telling me over and over again, Paul, Bubba, Paul's phone. I get it. That was the nail in the coffin. They unraveled the alibi, which was submitted to the court and was wrong. Um,
Yeah.
it made things unravel. Definitely, Pete. It definitely was the cornerstone for me. That video, what the evidence that was missing that Alex had control of, in his own words. Not so much the financial stuff. I know, like, you can be a thief and not be a murderer. I mean, to me, I didn't want
Mhm.
to cross that line. And to be a family annihilator, we were looking at it. You know how rare that is, Mandy? Like, it is sensational. People talk about it all the time when it happens, but it's so rare. It's absolutely rare for an adult son to be shot by a parent.
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
most
so rare
it's
for a man to shoot his wife, though. I'll tell you that. Like that, pretty common.
no, but I think it's more common for I'll have to do some looking for women to off their children. It's very
It
weird.
is actually, and younger. When they're younger, it's easier because they actually feel they're doing some kind of duty by protecting them from the ills of the world with them not being there with them. And it's like very convoluted. There's a video on my channel with Bearded. We're talking about it, and it's actually they actually think they're protecting them, or they have some type. If it's a man, he has some type of ownership of his family. Like, that wife belongs to me. Those children belong to me, and it is my responsibility. And like, no one else is going to raise them. No one. I'm going to keep them from the ills of the world, or looking at me bad, or finding out all this stuff. They take great responsibility and ownership of them. And
That's some straight ass Freud shit right there.
yeah, but that's what you get with psychology when you talk to bearded heretic for 3
I
hours.
know.
Like, I'm just repeating what we found in, the studies, and what he told me was practice, so there you go. But hey, Skid Scratcher, and hello to everybody coming in. Hello, AT2. Shill, don't worry about like who that was. Let's not put any other names in there. I addressed it.
Oh
Let's
my gosh, let me comment on AT2 Productions
absolutely. You
for
want me to bring it up?
no, because it's just funny because if you're
Yeah.
old enough to have watched the movie Wildcats,
Oh, I did.
UGLY, you ain't got no alibi, you ugly. What? You
What? You
ugly.
ugly.
It was a cheer.
Yes, I
But
remember
that
that, AT. So, how you doing, Jared? And no, everybody that's here that I didn't say hello to, I
Pete,
see you
thank
all.
you.
And Pete, thank you so much. Pete's been going back and forth, and he'll tell everybody I was not on the guilty train to begin with.
I know I'm worried that I've lost my buddy Pete to this case.
I don't think you did because Pete is a real one, right? Pete, Mandy's allowed to think he couldn't do it. You're still gonna Mandy's still Mandy, and you have good reason. Um, you have good reason. Yeah, you know, but he's never going to be on the not guilty train. But I don't think he's going to diss any of us if we stayed on there. I don't think he was not guilty. I think he was guilty, and I don't think the evidence proved it enough for
I
me if I was sitting on a jury to say
right.
that. That's where I am with it. You are not guilty because he didn't do it, and that's different. But you've got good reason too.
I
Yeah.
don't think he pulled the trigger. I have just a
Mm.
hard time with that.
Do you
But
think he knew? Do you think
I'm
he knew who
also
did it?
well, so after these trials, I always just have to like step away from it. So honestly, I don't know a whole lot other than like my news break will pop up and it'll be like juror and because I just after something that's so intense for me for my mental health, I step back just like I did with the Amber and Johnny case because it's so much and it is really emotional and um whether you like or dislike or whatever, there were people that were killed. And
Right.
for me, a hard time that I have now, to be really honest with you, is Buster's lost everybody. So,
I you
regardless
know,
of if you like
mhm,
him or dislike him, he lost
mhm,
his mom, he lost his brother, and now his dad. And I think by no fault of his own for this situation, I've heard some rumors about other stuff, but this situation, his
mhm.
name is ruined.
It is. The
And
whole family name when you think about it.
yeah,
Randy's his brother Randy's an attorney. He's out there on the press saying, "I didn't believe him, he was lying." And I think most of that might be to get his reputation back. But what do
yeah.
you do when family? John Marvin, he's a businessman. He's tainted. The sister, they're tainted. The whole family history.
I mean, I'm not
It's
gonna say
when
I
a
wasn't
judge has
a little offended when Maggie, texted something about the Mexicans. Like, I was like,
It
"Really?
was
Are we
hella
going here?"
racist. Are we going
Yeah,
here? And yet I understand the
like,
culture that it's so common to them, and I'm like, "Hell, I'm from the East Coast. You're gonna get kicked in the head for that kind of stuff. Like, that don't happen here. Like, not without
right.
being answered.
Yeah.
That would not be thought of, but I have to give we're not familiar with the culture, and I don't know if it was meant that way because Bianca, who it was, like, part of, didn't really seem upset by it at all. It's like
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
so who am I to get upset for her if she's not? Like, that's for her, you know what
right.
I'm saying? Like, so I had to take a step back, although I still think it was hella racist. Like, whoa, like, come on, Maggie. But then the documentaries, I learned so much about Maggie. I'm glad I didn't learn it until after because I wouldn't want that to jade me wanting justice for her. Like, you know, um,
Like, who else thinks that forget it, I can't say that. Forget it. I'm not gonna speak
I
ill
know
of the
it's
dead,
hard.
so
It's very they brought up we'll just say this. I'll help you with that. The documentaries bring up that Paul and Maggie had some issues going
well,
on, and that there are no way to look at this without saying everybody had stuff going on. Everybody did. And like we don't want to actually talk about it because they're not here anymore. Number one, they can't defend themselves. Number two, we wanted justice because regardless of who they were or what they did, or what kind of person, relationships, whatever they were involved in, the way that they died was wrong. They died too soon. Somebody killed them, and killing is wrong. Okay,
Right.
for whatever reason, for whatever happened, that was wrong. That needed justice. I'm all for it, and I'm glad in some way that justice has actually been done. You know,
Yeah.
well, but I know you don't want to speak ill of them. But
I
these
mean, the
documentaries.
entitlement. Yo, how much money
Oh
did he
yeah,
spend on 2 guns? Like,
I
enough
know.
for a car for a teenager, in my opinion. Like, 6 how much were those guns with those scopes? A lot, a lot.
A lot,
Yeah, so
you
I
know.
think there was some entitlement.
Mhm,
I'm not a fan of the family,
mhm,
in my
y
opinion.
mhm,
That being said, I
mhm,
there was one point during the verdict being read that they showed Buster,
yeah.
and it hurt me. I mean,
It did. I spoke kindly of Buster after that verdict and during the sentencing in the show that I did for to keep everyone in mind that um he has lost everything regardless of how he felt, because now no matter what he believes, his father's labeled a murderer and he has to accept that is something people
and
will
his
say.
father committed all the whether we like it or not, his father did all of these things. We dislike that. By
Mhm.
we dislike that part. But the fact that it's going to be on his back
Mhm. Mhm.
because of his name. Oh, your dad people are cruel. We know this. Like, we know this. So, "Oh, your dad's a who wants to have to go through that? Like,
Mhm.
even the woman who, her father was the BTK killer, I believe,
Oh,
has
yes,
come
right,
out
and she's out
now,
there. Yup, she's
and
out there about
people
Kohlberger, and, I'm like,
yeah, I just
So you feel
I
like
don't
I
know.
do. Have you heard I don't know if you've heard any of my true crime lately, but I'm on a soapbox about that in the damn media, going back to people's kindergarten teachers. Like before he's even been in court for a pretrial hearing, if there's enough evidence to actually bring him to trial, and you're out there interviewing his kindergarten classmates. What does
Yeah,
that have to do with it? They will do anything. They will do anything to just keep it in the news and go. And I think it's very prejudicial. And I know that sounds like I'm a hypocrite because here I am, like looking at legal documents and talking about them. But I'm not trying to influence cases. I'm not trying to say who's like anything like that. Okay. I'm not gonna. I want them to leave the witnesses alone. I kind of understand why they're sealing this up.
yeah.
I understand the sensationalism of it. I also understand transparency. I want courtrooms open too. But as long as media acts like this, Mandy, we can't have open courtrooms. And so we can't see justice
Nope.
being done. We don't get to know the process. We don't get to make sure that everything's being done the way that we would want because the media is ruining it for us. I really believe that. And they're just going way too far with it, way too far. They done things. They even said some of the reporting on even the Murdaugh trial was talking about witnesses, not witnesses, jurors crying during testimony. That never happened. It went out there. Thankfully, the
Well,
jurors
they
don't
also
get to
said that
see any
Amber
of
Heard
this.
cried during her testimony. We all saw that
Well,
was
Amber Heard
bullshit,
said
so
she cried during her testimony too, but we
okay,
saw that
okay,
she didn't
okay,
cry.
okay.
The bee cried
One
more than Amber
question.
Heard did. Yeah.
Who's a better actor? Alex Murdaugh or Amber Heard?
I would say Alex Murdaugh, he got away with it for 20 years. He just didn't get away with murder.
Oh god.
Well, he got
You're
away with lying
terrible.
like that. He got away with lying like a sieve and pulling everybody the wool over everybody's eyes for 20 years. He made millions. Okay.
Yeah.
I'd say he's a better liar in Amber because Amber Heard's no actress. Come on. Let's see. I didn't believe her. I didn't believe any of it. I'd say Murdaugh was a better actor, even though he got guilty. He was much better history at lying because even
Well,
when he
that's
was on that
only
stand, if you didn't have the evidence, you would have believed every word he said, wouldn't you? He was convincing.
yeah. It's only 2 cases, though, that we've followed that I've gotten wrong, so I feel like my
No, you're and it's who's to say you're not right? You're just that's just where the jury went. Like we weren't really
yeah,
go
I
we
mean
always go by what we feel, you and I. We don't go by what we think the jury's going to do, right? So
mhm.
not to say you're wrong, who knows? If he could just do a confession and say who did it, right now we find out it was like somebody else and he was just too scared to say or whatever. I just know it's either him or he knows who because there was nobody, and it had to be somebody close that the dogs wouldn't get crazy or that
Mhm.
Maggie and Paul wouldn't react to. No defensive wounds. There's enough evidence there. But
What
I
did you
don't
think
think there
about
was
the
enough to
hair in
kill.
her hand never being tested?
Yeah, why didn't they test that?
I mean, it was a shoddy job. I don't think they were prepared for it, but,
Did they
I mean,
assume it was dog hair because she was going after
maybe.
Bubba because of the chicken? You see, I think, Mandy, forgive me, but Bubba has a lot of story to tell us here. You know who's gonna tell us what
I
really
always
happened?
wondered
Freaking Bubba.
I always
Bubba's gonna
wondered
tell us
if you
exactly what went down.
if
Mm.
you put Bubba near Alex, what would happen?
Did that now, I know it wasn't part of the evidence, but pure pit speculation here. Did that resound with you when you found out that he don't have either one of those dogs anywhere near him?
No, he's been locked up for, like, 2 years.
No, but even before.
Eh, I don't know.
Bianca took the
I
dogs
don't
right away. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't think Bubba wants anything to do with Alex, but you're right. I would like to see them in the same room and see what happens. I
Truly,
know.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh, truly.
If,
Yeah.
you know, I found that part to be
This is
fascinating.
true. This testimony really got to me, the one that Dale said, Pete, because he said no dogs got crazy, but they get crazy when someone's 500 feet away on that farm. They would get crazy about noises they heard, all kinds of stuff. And the other thing was the jury going to see the property. Like that was interesting because have you heard any of the jurors doing their interviews lately? Like I think 4 of them are out there
Nope,
talking right now.
nope.
Oh, the head, the 2 women and 2 men, different ages. Like one of them's young, like 22, and then some are middle aged. And basically, they said going to the properties helped them realize that Alex could see the kennels from the house. He may not have been able to hear those shots, but when he was coming and going, he coulda saw that Maggie and Paul were there. Mm.
It
But
was
he's
dark out.
Mhm.
What do you mean? I missed that part. Yeah, I
Because
don't
the lights were on. It was dark and the lights were on, and you could see from the house the kennel because the trees were smaller at that time. You could see through. You could see the candles, you could see the lights were still on. He said he didn't know where they were. This is what they said they bothered them about some of the testimony. He would say one thing, and then physical evidence would prove otherwise. What he was saying was not necessarily true. And then they started wondering why is he saying it?
hold
Yeah.
on just a sec.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you always. I think he might have it. The Bubba would have a different reaction. Like I don't know, like how you would react. If only dogs could talk, right, Mrs. Cassandra? And hello. While Mandy is checking that out, let me
I'm
just go through.
I know
Oh,
I'm back. I just had to talk to my daughter real quick.
oh, that's okay, because I know you don't always have a lot of time. So I know we've been an hour. How much more do you have? I don't want to keep you too much,
Not
because
2 because I haven't
all
eaten or
right,
anything, so,
yeah,
yeah.
that's how we both
Is
roll like
anybody
that.
else
And
on the
he's there.
West Coast?
Is any
Where are my
yeah,
West Coast peeps at?
yeah, there's some PST people in the chat. I've got people that come like, I remember the Swango case, and I thought that was messed up. I have to look that one up. I don't recall that last name, but always is saying that she thinks Bubba would have a different reaction. Um, as Pete said, those dogs was a big thing. I'm just looking for some of the comments here. And hey, Rocket Couch and Paul and Pete and Shill. Mrs. Cassandra, Michelle Ferguson, I see you all. Thank you for being here. Brilliant, thank you for being here. Hey, Beck, I wouldn't expect to see you. Hi, I hope you're well. And there's so many. Like I have to go all the way back up for people coming in. Skits Crasher, it's nice to see you.
Yeah, I think I knew that, Miss
Leotis?
Cassandra.
Hmm.
You were close-ish.
Alex sealed it for them. Hmm. What do you mean, Leotis? You mean the test when him taking the stand? I think that is what the juries did say. All the juries said that once Alex took the stand, they really pretty much started making up their mind. Hey, Charlie, thank you for being here. Mark Caesar, the naughty books, magazines with pages stuck together. No, that was naughty like an NADI. It means something different, but haha, very good. That was good, Mark.
Pages
Yeah,
stuck together.
I know. I didn't stick any of them together. Hey, Randy, it's nice of you to be here. Juju B, of course, and Aunt Chair. Oh gosh, I gotta go way back up here and he's just talking.
The
Um,
number 1 odds here. Did you notice her?
my number one mod, always createful, and chill, and you too. Who
Miss
is my number?
Cassandra's here. She
Mrs. Cassandra? I said hi to Mrs. Cassandra
Oh, did
about
ya?
Bubba. I did. And she knows. Oh, she's my number one. She my oldest supporter. I will say that. She's been a supporter of mine when I only had wrenches. So yeah, I would say. Aunt Jer. I'm
Did we
not
all
blaming
have
Bubba.
wrenches in Little Red's
We did it,
chat?
did we? Yes, we did, didn't we
I
all?
think
We
we
all
did.
yeah. And
It's
we
her
all
fault.
used
She
to
started this.
hang out at in the middle of the night,
It was the best.
like 3 a.m., even after Little Reds. And we used to go, oh my gosh, Mrs. Cassandra, why am I? It's been so long since I talked to him. I can't remember his name. But it was the Insomniacs Club. In From all different communities, we would be out there. Everybody who had wrenches and
Yeah.
stuff, and it would be kind of cool having all these kind of conversations. But yeah, Aunt Chair, does anybody else think the HBO documentary was produced by the defense? Do you mean Murdaugh Murders, the ones that's out now? Um,
But
no.
somebody said in the documentary
Oh,
on Netflix that
Low Country is a HBO, isn't it? Like that's not Murdaugh. That's not the one that's on Netflix. Is Low Country the one that's HBO? I believe that one does look a little. Just because Jim Griffin's in it, I don't know. It did give a different perspective, but I don't really think that it was produced by the defense because I did find some pretty damning information in it. But it did explain the area more in the reputations more for me anyway. Um,
yeah, their reputations weren't good, especially since
yeah,
the boat
yeah.
crash.
But they're like it's funny how every single documentary that comes out takes a different kind of slant. Like the one that's out now on Netflix kind of has a slant towards the boat crash, like to the boat incident, right? And or is that the one? And then the other one kind of has like just all the reputation and doing things behind the scenes and being all connected. They all have like a different take. And there was just a 48 hours one that just came out too. And then we got Mandy Mantley's podcast. She's been following it for years, investigatively from the area. She has a take on that too.
Yeah, there's a
Like,
guy that I found the other day. I can't think of his name.
are you following any of the lawyers like Brand, or are you filing?
Nope,
Are you following Avery Wilkes from the
nope.
area? How about
I'm sort
Fitz
of
Hughes?
over it. When it's over, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm they got where they got. It
Mm-hmm.
was an interesting trial. It's an interesting story. You know, I'm sure they're going to appeal because that's what you
Mm-hmm.
do. Um, he still has to deal with all of the financial
Mm-hmm.
stuff also. So,
Mm-hmm.
I'm just for me, I'm kind of the person that do all of this research and get to a certain place and watch the trial, and I may have an opinion, but the jury's the jury,
Mm-hmm. Did
and
you
whatever
check?
they decide
Did
is
you
that.
only watch the murder part though? So you're only interested in the murder part. You didn't watch like the other trials on Lafayette or Smith in
Uh-uh.
regards to not
Nope.
yet because that wasn't. Will you watch Alex Murdaugh's trial in that part?
Probably not because, I just have such a This is terrible. I have such a really bad taste in my mouth right now for this
Yeah.
country
Mhm.
and all of the financial crimes all the time and the rich getting richer and stealing from the
It is hard
middle
to
class,
digest,
and
isn't it? Like, because they
we're
act like it's nothing, don't they? And
yeah,
it's like
and these, I'm sure it'll be different for, Murdaugh, because now he's convicted of murder.
mhm.
But,
He's a murderer.
like, these people that these people that do all of these financial crimes that are
Mhm.
rich and
Mhm.
never have any repercussions for them, like the, Aunt Becky from, that show, and
Uh-huh.
they lied to get their kid in college and Varsity Blues, that whole
Mhm.
thing. I'm so sick and tired of rich and famous people getting away with all of these crazy financial crimes, just like the Real Housewife's husband.
Mhm.
I know of that story, but all I could think about in the trial when they talked about the financial crimes was
Mhm.
this dude 100% remind Alex reminds me of that guy. So what's his
Yeah.
name? Um,
What do you mean Samuel Bankman-Fried with the
no, it's
FTX
the Real
crime?
Housewives
Oh.
husband
Oh, the
that stole
husband.
all the money from victims of
Oh.
plane crashes and stuff. I'm looking because I
Oh,
know
oh,
Miss Cassandra will know.
Girardi. Girardi.
Yeah.
Yes, the Girardi case. Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yes.
So, yeah,
Okay.
so because all of these financial crimes, these people just like do this crap and get away with it all the time.
And he
And
has some nerve too. He's trying to claim that he was altered because he was an attorney, but he's got Alzheimer's or something. He's got dementia. That's why he did it. He just
yeah,
lived the lifestyle. He spent all the money quite well
yeah.
without dementia, but he did the crime because of dementia.
Yeah, I'm
I don't
just
get it.
totally
Mm.
sick and tired of rich people just like mooching and mooching and mooching and stealing money from,
Mhm.
people that work hard or have a loss or have something like
Mhm.
that. So the financial crimes really never to me, I'm like, wow, you're a millionaire and you have everything you want and you're
Mhm.
stealing money from people. Like, that's disgusting.
It is, and it's the
And then according
entitlement.
to a jury, he's a murderer also. So,
Right. Yes.
regardless of how I feel, the jury came to a conclusion. But this is also the reason that I posted that I don't care for jury trials
Mhm.
because whether we want to really talk about it or not, we are human beings with feelings and emotions. Even though you're supposed to go into this courtroom and you're supposed to base a decision on facts and evidence,
Right.
people can't just turn off their emotions, turn off their brain, turn
Mhm.
off their biases, turn off what they've been through in
Mhm.
their life to have opinions about things.
Mhm. I
So
agree with that, actually, jury, it is very difficult, but in
So
this
I'm not
case
gonna yeah, I'm not gonna do anything stupid because I like
mhm.
my freedom and I like my life, but I would have a bench trial 1000%.
Would you, in this case, agree then, given the evidence, given the attitude of the court, do you pretty much know what Judge Newman would have done?
Oh, he hates him.
He does not have a lot of respect for him, I could say, after that sentencing speech that he gave, I would say.
I didn't
But
listen. I have
I
no
do
idea.
think he followed
Yeah,
the law pretty well. He did let a little bit out there, but I will remind you that even though he did correct the defense a lot, he did also go against prosecution. When he wanted to object, he objected on both sides when they were being ridiculous. Like he objected to Creighton Waters going too far, especially
yeah.
after he left that evidence in and he tried to go a little farther. And he's like, "Are you out of your mind?" Like,
See, and here's
really?
the thing. I go back and forth with prosecutors and law enforcement for a couple reasons. First of all, I have family in
Mhm.
law enforcement. I value what they have to do every day, what they have to put themselves through every day, being on the streets. I had an uncle that was i- Massachusetts State Patrol,
Mhm.
actually, and then was a town in Massachusetts until he passed away. He was an officer. So I have a huge respect and love for our men in blue. On the flip side of that, because I have followed true crime so much, I have seen awful things, like
Mhm,
interviews that people do with people where investigators have done awful things
mhm.
and manipulated
Yeah.
people and done things. So I have this love hate there. Then with prosecutors, it's like the same thing. I have an absolute love for the law.
Mhm.
You know this.
I know. It's one of the things that we always keep in common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But my issue is, again, you know this, and I can actually bring up a case and you'll know
Mhm,
why. When prosecutors lie
mhm.
or go off on a tangent so far-fetched, and then 30
Mhm.
years later, we're literally releasing these people because the evidence wasn't there or there was a
True.
Brady violation or
I'm
something.
seeing the Brady violations. I'm
Yep,
seeing DNA evidence
yep,
like go crazy. It's not a system that's infallible. Like we both know
yeah,
that. And I know you have your issues with Judge Newman, but I think all in all, given the prejudice in the area, him being this long a judge, he's 72 and he's not going to be
yeah,
able to go any more past this year. He's been a judge for a really long time. He's seen a lot of stuff. He's watching. He had to literally take he had to take portraits down in his courtroom to not prejudice Alex Murdaugh because his family was so ingrained in this system. This whole trial was nothing but a big black mark on the whole thing. And so I think he did the best job he could. I actually admired him for sticking it out, going through it. He let little thing it was the sentencing that actually that was when I thought he was actually had felt about it a certain way. It
yeah,
kind of started to make sense, but I really don't think he treated Alex Murdaugh with any more prejudice than he would any other person that violated the law. I think he has a great respect for the law, and I think just the way he handled knowing the legal quagmire he was in with 404B and the way he handled that with grace and also the way that they tried to get the whole case thrown like 4 times for directive verdict, trying to say there was no case when there actually kinda is a case. That video alone put him at the scene of the crime. That was enough to go to jury. I mean, that enough. I mean, yes, did they manipulate in it wasn't so much that they went out of their way to lie about the indictment. I wouldn't go that far. But when they knew the evidence wasn't the evidence, they should have redid it. That was my point. Like they shouldn't stand on it. You know what I mean? It they knew that it was wrong. And so I think that leaves that open. I think that's the biggest issue for the appeal. What do you think? It's going to go all the way back to that indictment. If I was a lawyer, but I'm not, I
yeah.
would. Hmm. But I do believe that Judge Newman. I had great respect for him. Just the way he made us all stretch, and he was so the way he smirked at both sides when first of all, Mandy, were you watching when he sent them to their rooms? Or actually, he didn't send them to their rooms. He left. He said, "Y'all work this out between yourself. I'm taking a break." And he left the courtroom because they were being idiots. And I have to give the man great credit for that. It was like, this doesn't involve me. It's not even a legal thing. You guys can fight. Like, see him. He just walked out. And he's not one to mess with. It's his courtroom his way. He don't want people jumping up and objecting. He wants you to talk about what you're going to present with each other so you can get your objections out of the way, which is one of the most reasonable ways I've seen a courtroom run in a long time. He's like, y'all know what you're going to do. Let's talk about it first so we don't like have to put this shenanigans in front of the jury. And that to me made perfect sense. They don't need to see that, you know. I don't know why I don't think they're going for a mistrial yet, right? Well, they did try, Pete, on evidence because stuff came up. Um, but what do you think about Jim Griffin constantly bringing up things that he didn't really want anybody to talk about? Like the reason the whole evidence got in for 404B was Jim Griffin insisting on talking about the boat case and things. Like that was a little weird.
That's a tough one because as the defense, you would want to be able to bring up the boat case
Mhm.
because that opens it up to the threats that Paul
Mhm.
was getting, but is that a smart decision in the
I
long
think it was
run? Because
risky
now
and
you just
it
opened the door to the fact that yeah, so
true.
I don't know.
That's what
I
I was
think
thinking too. It was
mhm.
risky either way. Not only did it bring in the financial, what if you do bring in that he was getting threatened because of the boat thing? You need to actually show the documentation of the threats, which no one ever did in a year and a
I
half,
mean,
2
girl, go
years.
online. Seriously. Like,
No, you can
type
go
it in.
online and see it, but in a
But
court, you can't
he was
bring
getting
Facebook
threatened,
to
yeah.
court. You don't get to bring Facebook to court. That's the problem.
Right.
Like they didn't have
Right.
anything. Like if they did, I'm all with you. Like that's a good reason, Jim. Put your foot in the door. If you're going to show that, that would have been great defense. That he
Yeah,
was
but
under
also
attack. The whole
yeah,
family was.
with the defense, if they were gonna go all in, they needed to go all in a couple different places, and they really missed the mark,
I
so
really don't think they went in all in until those last 2 days when Harpoolian was acting like a badger to everybody. Just like, "You're only here because you hate him, right?" I was like, "What? What kind of a question is that?" He literally was attacking witnesses that way, like, "You're mad at him, right?" And I'm like, "Okay,
I mean,
yeah."
the little tiny weasel prosecution was literally screaming so loud in the courtroom, I had to shut my volume down to 1.
Mhm.
I mean, they were
Which one
both
was that?
insane.
Maders? Maders was making me jump, like,
No,
he
what,
Waters?
the
Yeah?
yeah, the main
Yeah.
he yelled so
Yeah, I love
he
him
yelled
though,
so
yeah.
loud a couple times, I was like, "Bro, ears."
Yeah,
But no,
he's
I didn't like
definitely
any of them.
dramatic.
Did you look around the courtroom and notice it's just a bunch of freaking older white men? Like, good
I
God,
did.
I'm
I
glad the
had my
judge
favorites. I did have my favorites. I was very fond of, Johnny Ellis James, who did the financial
honey,
briefing. He was a cute young AG who's going to make his way because he had a way of explaining financial stuff that you understood it. Like he didn't make it like it was that boring, and he tried to make it a little more understandable and digestible. So I noticed his style there. Like I did. I love BCE before his big energy for the exact reason you don't like him. His loudness and his passion comes through as a
well,
prosecutor, and I'm a big fan of that on all the series I used to watch on TV and all as far as entertainment. So, like, if I get to see it in an actual courtroom, of course I'm a fan,
and
you know?
also
Yeah.
for me, this is just a personal opinion
Mhm,
for me. We're talking about 2 people that were murdered,
mhm.
and somebody is on trial for their murder. Making funny little effing innuendos about the 5'4", 11-year-old or 10-year-old or
I
12-year-old.
I
I don't
thought that
find that
was
funny.
distasteful.
I
I
thought
thought
it
it was
was
distasteful.
disgusting.
Yeah, that was distasteful. I will agree with you there. I do think that David Hernandez actually showed himself as an AG to be very strong. But that whole line of questioning there and that mocking was, I didn't appreciate it at all. I was like, big mistake. And then he goes back to the table and he was happy with himself about it, which made me feel even worse because I'm like, dude, that just wasn't cool. You didn't need to do that. The
Yeah.
argument was ridiculous enough if you just move somebody along the line. You didn't need to do that. Although we all did have fun in the chat about ninjas and stuff, but when he brought children in,
See, I
as if
didn't think it was
children
funny. I probably left the chat
yeah,
when that was going on because
when the
I don't
children when they
yeah.
brought children in it, that children would have a gun and actually do something like that, and that's what they were saying. That's where I drew the line. The ninja stuff was funny. Like I agree. They were actually acting like ninjas fell out of the tree and committed the crime and left no evidence. Because here's the other thing: if it wasn't Alex, then why is it there not one scrap of evidence of anybody else anywhere at all? Anything that we can actually point at and say we don't know who left that, we don't know who did that. Um, I do agree Sled did a really bad job of art. The scene was completely a mess and not treated like a real crime scene from the start. They never even treated the house like a crime scene, even though
No.
Alex was there and the guns had to come from somewhere and are missing. And maybe it was a robbery. Like none of it made sense to me how they were
Well,
treating. But
also, so this is just my little piece of theory on that. I'm not gonna get into it because I do need to wrap it up quick,
mhm, okay.
here
Hmm.
shortly. But do you remember that Paul was taking his pickup,
Mm-hmm.
to be serviced?
Yes.
And
And he had
even one
his
of the friends testified that when Paul cleans out his pickup, a lot of the times he'll do it down at the hangar, down at the barn, and just take his stuff out and put it, like, in there somewhere.
right. So you're
So
thinking the
that was
guns
my
were in
reasoning for
in the
how the
barn.
firearms got there. Yes,
Okay.
is that he
Mm-hmm.
actually cleaned out his pickup on Friday. They could have been in there
Mm-hmm.
because he
I
was
actually
take
think they were in the golf cart because both Paul and Alex were touring the property, and I don't think they
eh
would go all over the property without their guns.
yeah,
Period.
no, right. So they were
Yeah.
there. I mean,
Mhm.
obvious, I
It
didn't
was obvious they were there, but they could be in the barn, you're right. There were so many ways, but the way that they didn't treat the whole area like a crime scene and they were letting all these people walk all over the place
it's a disgrace.
drove me nuts. Every time I saw one of those body cam videos, I was like going, "Oh my
Oh, and the fact
god."
that, oh gosh, I'm sorry, I'm getting tired. Like a piece of his brain was left,
Mhm.
like,
I know. Yeah, it was pretty
ugh.
bad. I mean, but then again, like they're not making it like it was disrespectful. It is the responsibility of another company to clean it up. I mean, I don't think law enforcement meant to be disrespectful in that
Yeah,
line.
but wouldn't you wanna take that like it's a significant piece of
Evidence.
brain
I
and you would
think why
want
are they leaving
to
evidence?
and
Yes.
why
Why
did she
are
never X-ray it to see how yeah, I have questions.
And that's the problem with trials, like, because we're never going to get those answers.
No,
Like, we're going to be, but what the point of having this conversation with you was, is that we can all talk about stuff and not agree with it 100%. There wasn't anybody calling anybody a name or saying they're silly or wrong or anything. It's a discussion, it's a conversation, because we're not the judge and jury, right? We're just all fans of the system, so to speak, the process. We like the true crime. We want to look at the case. And that's how it should be done out there. So I don't want to see any of you here out on Twitter doing anything else but that or anywhere else because that's just like that's how that's how you make it enjoyable. And because you have to listen to other people. You can't, not any one of us has all of it down pat, right? You learn something every day about all of it. And even this with the questions, right? Mandy, we might find an answer later that'll turn the whole thing upside down, right? And
I mean, if he's got information, he might wanna fucking spill it. It's not like you're ever gonna get out, right?
especially since he seems so adamant that he didn't do it. He keeps repeating it. And if you didn't do it, then tell us what happened because you know more than you're saying because you're covering up a lot. You really are. And so like he needs to come clean, you know? And yeah. I agree with that. If he's so adamant he didn't do it, he needs to give us a plausible story as to what happened.
Like, what do you know? What do
Mhm,
you know? These
mhm.
are things that just where I'm at. I don't know.
Now, Pete says it's still like that in Low Country that they fear the Murdaughs. They're fearing what's going to happen. But I've actually seen video that Buster's already been threatened by people. They were taking Murdaugh away, and people were yelling. There was a man yelling that Buster was next. You know, and right to him. And I, that must be horrible for him, regardless of what happened, to be away and not be able to protect his son. But then again, they didn't ask for any kind of protection either, Mandy, about the threats. And they were very well connected. They could have got protection in an investigation into the threats at any time. This is a very well connected family. Buster could have been protected all along. That was another question I had. They obviously had the pull to make that happen, and it didn't. And I wonder why.
So why did he do it then?
Why did he do it? I don't think he
Mhm.
knew what he was doing. Like I said, I'm of the thing that it was a bunch of events that all came together like the hailstorm, but it wasn't actually planned. I think he was under a lot of pressure, reacting like a jerk. He got mad at the dog and shit happened. And then when shit happened, it kept happening because he then was panicked. That's me. But because I like you have a hard time thinking as much as he thought his life would get better if they weren't there to see what was going to happen to him, to you know, I can understand one thing Bearded Hair Tick told me about how a man would look at his wife and his child who he adored, and to have all this stuff coming out about them, and to have that love, that unconditional love that they look at him with, change would be unbearable
Yeah.
for a man who knows he's been lying to them for 23 years. If he got his head in that space, maybe, just
Why not
maybe.
Buster though?
That's why I can't go there. Exactly
Mhm.
that. Why not Buster? Doesn't he love Buster like that? Of course he does. That's his
Yeah,
firstborn.
why wouldn't you plan a trip to go somewhere with
With all of
all
them
of
and
them
just throw them
and
off a boat. I mean, we know that
yeah,
works. Yeah, right? I know. But that's what I mean.
and
That's why I can't get there with that as far as the family annihilator, which is why I always keep coming back to the, he might have been thinking about it because he is under all this pressure and he is a drug addict and he just fucked up in his head. Let's just be clear. But I don't really think when he picked up that gun, his intention was to murder them both because his life would get better. Because hell no, does murdering two people ever make your life better? I don't really see him thinking that. So that's why I think he just went into this mode. Something happened between him and Paul, and shit blew up. One accident after another, and then you got a screaming wife coming at you. She gonna kill your ass. He makes the first shot. He's got no choice. Now he shot her. He just finishes. I don't think he's happy about what he did. I don't think he even can say what he did if he actually did it. I think that's why
hmm,
he's saying he didn't. The last thing he wants is Buster to think that he would actually kill them, because
right.
I don't think he actually thought he could kill them either. Here's a man who planned his own murder,
Well,
and
and
when the
that's
guy
that's
wouldn't go through with it, okay, he put the gun to his head and he couldn't even shoot himself in the head right. Like, this is not a strong spined man in that way. Okay. He didn't have the, let's just put it out. I don't think he had the spine or the balls to pull that trigger if he was thinking clearly. It had to be some kind of accident. The first shot, maybe even the second shot. After that, it was panic mode. And you do shit you don't even know, especially if you're on drugs. You know, for me, anyway. So, in a way, we're kind of the same. A rational person doesn't shoot their son in the head, right?
I mean, people snap all the time, right?
Yeah, but like it's really hard for me to believe he rationally shot him in the head like that.
Well, me too. I mean, that's why I've had such a hard time with it because when they oh, sorry, my mother was just calling me. I was just like,
Okay.
"I'm
You know what? We
busy."
can
No,
wrap
I was
up.
like,
No.
"I no, it's fine." I texted her back and I was like, "I'm busy." I think she accidentally butt dialed me. So, but yeah. Um, th yeah.
Hmm.
So I think for me, like, when I think about, like, Chris Watts, right?
That's a family annihilator.
And
But that's what I'm talking about, where he
all of the
can't
yeah,
live
and
those
that's the thing,
children. They
like,
can't be on this earth, right?
you were cheating, you didn't want your wife to find out, you were miserable, blah, 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 all of these factors. With the Murdaughs, it was like he's willing to kill himself because he's the only one with life insurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's willing to kill himself for Buster, but not the child that was considered his best friend. So then I have to say, okay, but Paul was getting in all of this trouble and it was bringing more attention. So you see, when I say that I
And
have a
Paul could
feeling
have
and I'm
been turning to
uncomfortable about
say he
something,
was
yeah,
gonna confess and just put it all to rest like his mother wanted him
like his
to.
mother wanted. Right.
And
So
that
it's
then he was gonna be found out to all the manipulation, because you have to watch that video. It's clear that Alex Murdaugh was controlling the information from the start and the investigation. He was using his influence against what got done and what didn't, which is what made Mark Tinsley be such a barracuda, because the
right.
families weren't all right. They were using their influence, which is was commonplace for them, and everybody let them because they were afraid of them, because
And
that's what
people
they
do
did.
that.
Right.
Rich people do that. It happens every day.
It
Like,
does, it does. But
yeah.
you see that that's all gonna come to light, and he's a lawyer, and he's wondering, like, if that comes to light, everything comes to light. Like, you could see the panic, right? If your family's gonna turn on you to do something that you know is gonna expose stuff. I don't think he technically wanted his family to know about all the financial thievery.
And
In a
that
way,
also
those
makes me
boy
question, like, I get they have a lot of money and he was bringing in a lot of money, but it makes me question also, like, I'm not stupid. I know how much money my husband and I bring. If all of a sudden we're buying like ridiculous stuff and have all of this money, I'd be like,
Mhm,
okay, so I know that you're doing good, but where's all this money coming from? Like, how did she not know that for
mhm.
20 years? I
Yep.
just, I don't know.
So many people are saying the same thing. If he didn't do it, he's obviously covering for the person he knows did it. There's no way he doesn't know who did it. The timing, it's just all right there. So we're all kind of see, we're all different in father what evidence we believe and what evidence we don't, what made sense once, what didn't, you know. And it's all still the same that even though we have a guilty verdict in Alex Murdaugh is in sitting in jail, he's going to appeal. He's going to appeal on plenty of things that happened in the trial and even before the trial. And he may get a new trial actually, just based on 404B. All that takes is the Supreme Court to say it shouldn't have came in,
Yep.
and it's a
Yep.
brand new trial, people, right, Mandy? And we could be doing this all again. I don't know if I'm gonna
No,
do it
I'm
again, though.
done.
Oh my gosh. It's like I think I'll do it again if Pete Hutchins comes and sits with me every day, because that was hella fun, Pete. Like, you made it quite entertaining. I'm glad I met you at this trial because you kept my eyes, focused on a whole bunch of stuff. And whenever I was certain about something, you always had a way of mentioning something else that made me think twice about it. And I appreciate that because I like to be challenged into what I'm seeing. I like to be challenged into what I'm thinking. And so I give you great credit for that. And you were always kind about it. Although everyone in the chat will know you're quite adamant where you thought this was case was going and where it should be. But you let us all come to our own conclusions, and I give you great credit for that. You're the kind of people we want to hang with, all of you that did that here in this
For
trial,
reals.
for all 6 weeks of it, all of you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you in building that kind of community where everybody could talk about what they wanted to, not be judged, and work it all out and just make people look at it from different sides, and always creative too. With all of her, she's been studying it, going after it as long as Mandy Matlin has. She was from the area; she know the area well.
Mm,
She knew the
mhm.
Murdaugh. She was the one that told me that's a hell of a mess, and I'm like, okay, let me look. And I probably will say the name Murdaugh much more on my channel because there's so many other parts of it to still go, especially if they open the Stephen Smith part. I want to see justice for that family. If they open that up, whether it's Murdaugh related or not, I want to know what happened to that young man. It's been many years. The family still
So,
doesn't have closure. Yeah.
do you follow hold on, I gotta see if I can find him. Go ahead and keep talking. I'm talking to
Oh no,
myself.
that's okay. So, what was I going to say? Oh, I am going to I'll just do channel stuff while she figures that out because we're going to be like, hey, rabbits, that's cool seeing you here. It's all about murder, rabbits. It's all about murder. Oh, well, I was going to tell you guys I'm going to do the Marilyn Manson update. I am
Yes.
probably going to schedule that for early on tomorrow. We got games in the Discord tomorrow night because we didn't do them tonight. So and on that, and for everybody, don't forget to like and share and subscribe because they've
Hi, buddy.
convinced me that if I'm going to be out here, that occasionally I have to act like a damn YouTuber instead like it's so I'm supposed to be doing all that stuff.
Okay, do you follow Eric Allen?
Yes, I do.
Okay, just making
Mhm.
sure.
Yes, I do. Yep. Allen, that one, right? The double Len guy.
No, ALAN.
Oh no! Wait, I'll have to go look for him.
Hold
Okay.
on, I'll get it.
Yeah, you want to Twitter me it, and I'll definitely will.
I'm just gonna
Okay.
post it in the chat.
Okay. Cool. Well, on
I
that.
have that. Hold on, my cat is walking across the laptop. Shit.
Oh. We're gonna be done in by the cat. Okay. No, that's amusing. I think the cat decided that we're ending our stream, Mandy, to tell you the truth. It probably in she's gone. I think she muted. Eric Allen was one of the first people who got me in the MU. Oh, really, Pete? Because I wanted to talk to you about how you got involved with this. Well, I'm gonna go look. Okay, cool. Hmm. because all of the beginning history is what really intrigued me. The way everything. Yeah, I know. I heard the cat too. Mandy, are you back? I'm going to get ready to end it. Oh, are you off? Tell me in the chat because if you're gone, I'm just going to say good night to them. Wait, let's see. Oh, I do know Eric. Oh, I do know Eric, huh? No, we can't hear you up there, Mandy, and you just dropped from the stream. So, based on that, Rocket Couch, I've decided when I'm doing streams, I like to tell people to dislike the video and leave your hate comments below. Does that work, Rocket Couch? Because I've got terrible engagement. Should I just tell them, put your hate on the back of the streams, people? Yeah, go ahead. Nope, Mandy, damn it. Hold on. All right, I'll wait for you, boo. And you can come say goodbye proper. Oh, the drone footage, dude. Okay, Pete. Yes. Okay. I do follow him and I do know Eric. Okay. Yes, the drone footage, man. Thank you, Pete. See, I love that. You see, Pete, look at you keeping me straight, keeping me with all the good information, not doing any misinformation. See?
Me?
Yeah. Hi. I can hear you now. Is the cat going to let you talk? You okay? I heard you and now I don't hear you. Hmm. I'll give it a moment. Oh, engagement is engagement, and in theory, it's more memorable to say the opposite of what people expect normally. Good.
Hello, hello.
Okay. Oh, there
Dun,
you
dun,
are. I heard
dun.
hello. You good? Can you hear me? I don't think you
Can you
hear me,
hear
boo.
me?
I hear
I
you. Can
can't
you
hear
hear
you.
me? Okay.
Damn it.
Okay. I can hear you though. What's doing? They hear you in the chat when you do talk. Bye, Paul. Tell Dick we said hi. I don't know what does that mean? Should I tell people not to like the video? Then in Rocket Couch, I'm gonna say do or just tell you, okay, whatever, do whatever you want. Okay, so now she's muted. So while she figures out whether she can hear me or not. So I gotta keep talking. What do you guys want to talk about? Besides whether or not you like my did all of you in the chat like the YouTube video or dislike the YouTube video? Did you make an effort to do a thumb up or down? Either way? Hmm? That would be great for engagement, even if you don't like it. Yes. Oh, wait. Okay. All right. Hold on. Wait. Is this you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I took the other one down. Are you okay? All right. Now can you hear me? Wait, do I have to keep both of them up for you to talk? Wait, which one are you?
I
Wait.
don't know what's going on.
Okay. Can you? All right. I can hear you. You can't hear me? All right. Hmm. What did I cook for dinner last night? I didn't cook dinner. What did I have last night? I had takeaway.
Hello?
Hello?
Hello, hello.
Can you hear me now? Mandy, can you hear me? Hmm. I'm gonna type to you in the chat. I'm gonna say, Mandy, why don't you say your goodbyes? So and I'll end the stream. Because you can't hear me. No, you cannot hear me. Okay, there you go. Hopefully you'll see my message. Oh, she's down again. She's gone again. I'll give her a second. Oh, uh, mm, maybe she's not going to come back. Okay. That cat wanted this stream to end. So I'll tell you what, people. I know if Mandy was here, she would say thank you for listening and say thank you. And remember that, there's two sides to everything and that people can be friends and have different opinions and not have it affect anything because we have just as much in common as we do to disagree and always always listen to the other side because if you're not hearing what other people are saying, how can you be confident in where you're coming from anything? If you are closed off, you're not taking in all the information, and that is just true. I want to thank Mandy so much. Oh, wait, maybe. Are you here, Boo?
Hello?
Hey, Boo!
That bastard.
That cat wanted you gone, and I think you better say your last thoughts and goodbye.
Okay,
I was
good to
saying
see
nice
you
things
all.
you
I
said.
will see you around. Thank you so much. Yeah, he put us in airplane mode and muted shit, and I don't even know.
You
So,
got a talented cat. You got a damn talented cat.
fucking Otis, man.
Oh man, that's funny though. But I was telling him how,
Yes.
always look at the other side of things. People can be
Thank you.
friends and
Yep.
have differing opinions. That's what she would have said. She's all behind that.
Yep.
Otherwise, we couldn't be doing this kind of stuff. Neither could all, any of you in the chat. So I appreciate everybody who was here for it. And this was a cool conversation for me because I did want to know where your parts were, you know, and what were the things that made you uncomfortable. And a lot of them are the same thing that made me uncomfortable, which is to me quite interesting because we came to different conclusions at the end. Well, it's really kind of cool to hear it. So thank you, Mandy.
Yes.
This was
Thank you for
fun.
having me.
Yeah, let's have some fun again. You find something else we want to do. Do you think that other one's going to go to live trial?
Which one?
The Caitlin.
Um, I don't know. Let me do some digging about
Mhm. Well, we know Valo's not, right? We know Masterson's not. Not that you're
no.
interested in that one. But do you think Chad Daybell will then go live now? Because he wanted cameras, right?
Yes.
Because her, she's no longer part of his trial, so they don't have to worry about her mugging
No,
for the
it's
camera,
severed.
right? Mm-hmm.
Yep, she would
Mm.
not, yeah, she would not
Mm.
waive her right to a speedy trial, so she starts next month,
Yeah,
so
and now Boo Boo's got DNA evidence. She doesn't have time to go over her test either, because she wanted to wait. She wanted to hurry this up. So, and it was a
oh my
hair.
god,
It's
this
a hair.
cat, I swear to God,
Oh,
you
all right, I'm gonna
guys.
let you go then. All right, goodbye,
Alright, love
everybody.
y'all.
Before the cat pulls the plug, we're out of here. Everybody, have a great time. I will see you. I will see you early Friday, early Thursday, probably the 4 o'clocker tomorrow for Marilyn Manson. I'll catch you all then. Have a great night, and thank you again, Mandy. That was awesome.
Thanks, love. Talk soon.
Talk soon. Bye bye.
Bye.